I'm suddenly very concerned I might look like that one picture of The Rock, like mixed with Wednesday Addams, and I think the necklace has to go. Hold on. Okay, I think that fixed it. Anyway, hi, I'm Jack Noke, Jack in the Attic, and today I'm gonna show you everything I made this fall. So I definitely made a video like this for my first video ever, all of the things I made through the spring and summer. This time it's just going to be the fall because I don't have like that huge backlog. But thank goodness, because that video was too long. This is also not going to be in any particular order. I have everything in a basket, not in any, like, it's not chronological, it's not by type of item, it's truly just what will I pull out of the basket. So let's go ahead and get started. I will link patterns in the description unless I do not have a pattern, then I will mention that, obviously. One of them is a pattern from a book that isn't released yet, so I will link the designer. I'll link their Instagram or their website. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So let's just get started. So first thing I see on top of the basket is actually a matching piece. So let me dig momentarily. Okay, so I saw the Joann Halloween Big Twist yarn collection. I went a little crazy. I tried to order the jack-o'-lantern colorway multiple times, failed multiple times, eventually succeeded and got a little bit too much. So I'm sorry, but I did end up making this oversized hexagon cardigan with a hood and with a button band. Let me just put it on. I will not be trying everything on, but this is too big to show otherwise. Ta-da! You get the idea. I wear it all the time. It is down to almost my knees. The sleeves are perfect. Honestly, I wouldn't change anything about it except maybe if I thought it could have pockets, I would give it pockets, but that's just not the nature of this fabric. So it just is how it is, and I'm going to wear it until it falls apart, and then I will repair it with the leftover yarn, and then I will wear it until it falls apart again. With the leftover yarn, I did make a matching beanie for my partner, who wears it all the time. And I'm so just like, anytime someone wears the things I make for them, it makes me so happy. So this was a win. They look completely different in knit and crochet, obviously. The cardigan doesn't have a pattern. I just did the basic hexagon and then added the hood, which I believe is just 2 squares. So, and this is the, I think, basic beanie from Tin Can Knits. Should I leave this on for the rest of the video? No, it's too warm. Oh, and if it's not clear from the concept of the video, most of these pieces you will have seen before if you watch my other videos. This is just an overview of everything. Okay, so next up, I made like 4 cowls just to donate, and a couple hats as well. These are the only cowls that are left in my home to show you. I love waffle stitch so much. It's so much fun to do. It's so squishy. These are both crochet, obviously. Yeah, chunky yarn waffle stitch I love so much. I want to make another one of these. They're just fun and fast, and I want one for myself, actually. I should probably... How many cowls do I need? Never mind. I won't make one for myself. So again, I made 4 or 5 cowls and then I think 2 hats. These I actually forgot until I was throwing everything in the basket that I could find. These are called dorm boots. They're just slipper socks. You can see a little bit of wear on mine. I made these with some type of Cascade number 5 cotton and something blend yarn. It holds up pretty well. It does loosen quite a bit with wear, so I do have to throw these in the dryer on hot to keep them fitting my feet, which I don't think is ideal. I wish I had used a different yarn, but they are very comfy. So if I wear them on top of other socks, it's not a problem, but otherwise they're just a little bit too big. I also should have probably gone down a needle size. Next up, it's another crochet project. We have the Lenore boot cuffs. This was a pattern test that I did, and they are so cute. I had actually not thought of boot cuffs existing. What am I trying to say? I didn't know you could just do this. Instead of making entire socks or leg warmers, I didn't know you could just do this. It's so clever. I know it's not like the first boot cuff in the world to exist, but it's the first one I became aware of for some reason. These are super easy, super cute. I will obviously link the pattern. I had a great time making these. They were very, very fast. This is the, I think, K&C Essential Cotton yarn. Very soft, one of my favorite cottons, honestly, especially if you're looking for, I can't remember if it's DK or worsted, but it's somewhere in between those. Would recommend. I guess this is just the crochet side of the basket, because here's the little Halloween bunting pennant thing. In the first video that I showed this, I could not remember the word for it, but I thought bunting was just the type that's like a semicircle, like gathered in the middle. But no, this is bunting too, turns out. A Stash Buster project, because it actually didn't bust that much. I still have a lot of this orange yarn. I will probably save it and make pumpkins next year. Actually, now that Christmas is over, it is Halloween season again, so I may as well make the pumpkins now. Anyway, this hangs over a bookshelf in my room for no reason, but it was fun to make, and I already had the yarn. I could just keep making more triangles and just make it longer. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. I could do that. I don't need to do everything I think of. Neither do you. I thought I was joking when I said this was the crochet side of the basket, but I have another crochet piece. These are the Pianist Cuffs by Lunar Still. This is the pattern for the book that is not out yet, so I will link the designer's Instagram or website. I wanted these to be quite fitted, so they do take a moment to put on. They're not like uncomfortably tight or anything like that. So this pattern looks very detailed and complex, but includes a lot of simple repeats. I had a great time making this. I think I accidentally did one extra row on the wrist part, but that's fine with me. So here they are. And they also take a moment to take off. And these are made with crochet cotton thread. I think I used Aunt Lydia's something. I can't remember the number. Oh, that was a pattern test. Oh, another pattern test. I forgot to put this in the basket, and it's too big to like hold up on camera anyway because it's an entire dress. The baby doll dress. That was the first pattern test I did this fall. I did all 3 of those kind of in a row. They all had end dates within like 5 days of each other, so I made a little mistake there. Everything ended up fine, but this is the baby doll dress. Crochet and sewing, but very beginner friendly on both aspects. Okay, I think the rest is going to be mostly knits and some sewing, but I really don't actually know, so I don't know why I'm saying that. On top I can see the green Trude scarf I made. This is just a little one. I made another one of these in red for my mother, and I gave that one to her, so I don't have it. I'll put up a picture of me wearing it in my car moments before giving it to her. But this is my little green one. I did make this for my like little Beetlejuice outfit, but I do use it still. It does make me feel like, as I've said before, a goth Scooby-Doo character, but I do not see that as a negative. I also use this as a headband more than anything because I made it fairly short. I usually put the tie on the top. I don't know why I didn't do that this time. Anyway, I don't need to tell anyone about these tiny little scarves. You all know about the tiny little scarves. Will I make a third one? I don't know, probably. This was probably made closer to the end of the summer, but after the things I made in the summer video. It's just a little bandana. I wear this all the time. I love a little, I know you can't see it with black on black, but I love a little triangle bandana so much. This was made of leftover yarn from a tank top I made, so this is probably a linen blend. So it's not particularly warm, but that means I can wear it year round, and I do, as you can tell because it's all stretched out. There's no pattern for this, it's just a triangle. Ooh, next in the basket is my first ever pair of socks. There are dogs outside. Okay, my first ever pair of socks. I call these the Springfield socks because I bought the yarn on a trip. We stopped in Springfield. The idea was my wardrobe is not colorful, so to satisfy my desire to buy colorful yarn, I will make colorful socks. This one's all scrunkled. Hold on. It dried scrunkled. I don't own sock blockers, and I think if I did, I probably wouldn't use them, but anyway, my first pair of socks. They don't fit perfectly. I'm not good at heels. I wear them anyway. They're very soft, very comfortable, maybe a little bit too big, but that's just how first socks are, I think. I recently purchased a new sock pattern that is completely different that I want to try, so I'll let you know how my sock adventures go, of course. Couldn't tell you the name of this yarn or the colorway. It looks like a bowling alley carpet. That's all I got for you. Ooh, okay, so driving around for yarn crawl. Sorry, being a passenger driven around for yarn crawl. I made, in the span of a weekend plus, like 3 of these cat hats by Ugly Babies with an I. I made one that was too big. I made one that was my size. And then I gave away the one that was my size to a friend and reknit the one that was too big to be my size again. And it's perfect. I had exactly the right amount of yarn for 2 hats. I love it. I might not take it off. I'm not taking it off. It's staying on. It feels so correct on my head. I don't know how else to explain it. I put it on and I'm like, yeah, this is correct. This is how I'm supposed to be. This is me now. On the final day of yarn crawl, it was our first semi-cold day of the early fall, and I took full advantage of that. I wore this around literally all day, did not even remember it was on my head, eventually saw a reflection of myself and was like, oh yeah, I'm wearing this hat. And no one said anything about it, so that makes me think that it also looks correct on my head. People see it and they think, yeah, that's right. Ooh, I know what this is from Feel. It's the Partition Pullover by James N. Watts. I love this piece. It's almost too cold to wear it now. It's the end of December. This is getting up there as one of my most worn pieces. I made it in a cotton acrylic blend. It's Hobbii, either Twister or Friends Wheel. I actually do not know. We've talked about it. These yarns are identical to me. You can say they're different. I think there might be a little bit of batch inconsistency, so I agree that they're probably meant to be different. But are they actually? Couldn't say. Anyway, perfect pattern, no notes. One note, I think I didn't do as many decreases on the sleeves because I wanted them to be a little bit looser, and that worked out perfectly. So that note is for me exclusively. I also made mine a little bit cropped. Cute, I love it. I will never stop talking about it. I'm gonna keep wearing it all the time. Thank you, Partition Pullover, for my life. Oh, before I forget this, because it is also out of my possession now, I made a little green bandana for my brother-in-law to match a hat and fingerless mitt situation I made for him last Christmas. I had so much leftover yarn, I just started triangle and continued triangle until there was no more yarn. This one is actually based on the Foundation Kerchief by Emma Hanna, but I skipped the eyelet rows and just continued with the increases. I really like the garter tab cast on method. I think the kind of spine it creates is very, very cool with the increases. Very neat looking. I love this pattern. I have now used it multiple times. It's very easy to adapt. You can make any size of thing you want. It can be a little kerchief, it can be a huge shawl, whatever. Great pattern. Okay, this was sort of the thing I had to conquer this year, and it was the Salty Days sweater, of course. So this was my first real sweater. I've made like a cotton pullover before for like transitional seasons. This is my first like genuine sweater. It was my first time doing cables. It was my first time following a chart. And honestly, it just sort of convinced me that I can just do whatever I want, really. And maybe that sounds silly, but I am now convinced that if a pattern is written well, there should be sort of no barrier. I had seen several complaints about this pattern having a bunch of errors, but I think by the time I got to this pattern, it had been out for quite a while and there were corrections made. So the only issues I had with this were ones I created myself, like forgetting to read the note and missing the correction for the sleeves both times. Didn't learn my lesson on the first sleeve, had to mess it up twice. That's character building. Whatever. I made this with Drops Cotton Merino, so it's not too warm. I wear it all the time. All the time. Every time I go to the office, Salty Days sweater. Honestly, it's perfect. Wouldn't change anything. I love it so much. Ooh, would change one thing actually. I had a dye lot problem. This keeps happening to me. Just because I don't do anything to prevent it. It's pretty bad. It doesn't look bad in real life because that's where it would naturally like fold, as it's like wrinkled on the body. But on camera, my God, it looks drastic. I'm kind of in between big batches of things I will dye black. That is part of my life, is dyeing or re-dyeing my clothes black. So this will eventually get fixed. And until then, I will keep wearing it exactly as it is. Okay, I almost forgot these because they're in my purse 24/7 because I use them almost every day. Every day that I leave the house, which is not every day. These are Smith's gloves. We've talked about them multiple times because I messed them up a little bit. I had an issue with understanding the number of times to repeat a section, so the tops ended up too wide. They're still completely functional. I'm going to keep wearing them. I'm not gonna fix them. When I make another pair, probably as a gift, I will make sure to do that correctly. This is just a basic Cascade sock yarn, but they go with everything I wear. I wear them in the freezing office. They're exactly what I needed. Another free pattern, by the way. Okay, next up. You may have seen this in my last video. It's the hard hat liner for an ironworker friend. It's just a beanie with ear flaps. Ear flap? One continuous ear flap? It looks big. It is big. Ta-da! We've talked about this one so recently, I actually don't have much to say. This is Malabrigo Rios yarn. The pattern is for every size and every yarn weight. And it has a bunch of different options within the pattern. So, a lot going on there. Okay, I saved this one until near the end of the list so that I can now say, Kay, you have to get out of here. I'm going to show your Christmas gift. Please leave. I also talked about this one fairly recently. It's the hooded capelet. Kind of impossible to show. It has a button closure on the neck, a freestyle hood. I really just did some increasing, stopped doing that, did some decreasing, 3-needle bind off. That's the whole thing. It's kind of similar to raglan increases, and then I did a crochet row around the edge to add little points to the increase areas. I will put it on. Okay, here's the capelet. It's so cozy. This is another free pattern that I sort of adapted. I did add increases in the front that are not there in the original pattern. I followed the same type of increases, I just did it on both sides of the stitch marker that you put at the very beginning, so that it has a little more coverage in the front. See, this whole triangle would not be there. No regrets. I think that was a good call. Anyway, I'm very excited to gift this, and that'll be happening soon. I can't wait. Okay, my actual last knit, except for whatever I'm probably forgetting. I know I'm forgetting something, I don't know what it is. My last knit is finally the pants. They're done. I said in my last video I was gonna finish the pants that night, and I did. It was like 11:48 p.m. or something, 44 or something. It was almost midnight. I finished the pants. They do have the exact same issue as the Salty Days sweater, where I bought an amount of yarn. It was the wrong amount of yarn. Could not purchase that yarn again in person, had to order online. Could not have done anything about the dye lots. What I could have done is ordered before I finished the yarn I had so that I could alternate skeins. Didn't do that. I will just over dye them. It is not stopping me from wearing them today, at this moment, yesterday, the day I finished them, the day after that. Because it is cold and I made these out of a linen cotton blend, I'm mostly wearing them with leggings underneath, or I wear them underneath long dresses as a layering piece. They are kind of perfect for that because they're not too warm. The legs are wide, but the waist and hips are not particularly bulky. The pattern itself is written to be fitted at the waist. I think it said gently skim over the hips and then have wide legs, and it does exactly that. I can say that the fit is like perfect. The short row shaping in the back is perfect. The only reason I can't 100% recommend this pattern is because the sizing on it is pretty limited. However, I do think it would be pretty easy to adjust. I'm not going to give away too many details because it is a paid pattern, so obviously I can't just like tell you the whole thing. I believe with the gauge swatch you can easily adjust your cast on number. It's split equally for the increase points, which you can easily do with a different number. The only thing I haven't thought through all the way would be the short row shaping, but I believe you would do the exact same thing. I believe you would follow the short row shaping, not exactly as written because the stitch total would be different, but as far as like distance from stitch markers, I think it would be totally doable. There are other patterns for pants, obviously. If you find pants that you wouldn't have to do a bunch of adjustments to, I would say use that pattern instead. But this is a pattern I bought months ago, long before I even thought of starting a YouTube channel. So this is just the pattern I had, and it worked out very well for me, and I will absolutely be making another pair. So the last two things I have are actually sewing instead of yarn. I was on a bit of a sewing kick, so these pieces were done in the span of like 2 weeks, and then I just forgot about my sewing machine entirely and just stopped. So this is just a chemise. It's from a Simplicity pattern. I made it out of a linen cotton like shirting blend. This is the piece that finally taught me I am not immune to sewing machine injuries. So I have been sewing for like 25 years. I was introduced to the sewing machine very young, with oversight obviously, but this whole time I truly thought there was no way you could get your finger in a position to injure it. And I will not go into detail. I'm sure plenty of you are squeamish. I am too. All I will say is it looked a lot worse than it was, but it scared me so bad I will never make that mistake again. My finger just got caught in a gather. All I can say is it was much worse for my fingernail than it was for my actual flesh. What else do I have to say about this piece? I don't know. It's a basic chemise. I had a fair amount of trouble trying to get the underarm gusset to cooperate with my desire to put French seams on everything because I don't own a serger. So it just doesn't. Those are just raw, and I probably need to zigzag those. I did not make this for any particular reason. I did have plans to wear it to an event that I did not attend because I got strep instead. But anyway, for just a basic chemise. It's great. I'll link the pattern. In the same genre, I made these short stays. They're going to be sort of impossible to show on camera. I think this is the best I can do. This was made with some leftover linen and like quilting cotton for the lining. The twill tape I bought for the edges turned out to be kind of like hot garbage plastic. It looked a lot nicer before I took it out of the package. So I will likely replace all of that. I did hand sew the eyelets. That was tedious. Again, would have worn this to an event that I did not actually get to attend, but my wardrobe is such that this is not out of place year-round. So this pattern, I can't... Okay. It's going to be tricky to talk about this pattern because obviously it worked well enough that I have a finished piece and I'm happy with it, but it is not something that I can say is well written because there are no written instructions. There are multiple PDFs involved. None of them are the instructions. The instructions only come in a video. And had I known that, I would not have purchased the pattern. I really did not enjoy having to find the secret video every time I wanted to work on it, had to find my place in the video every time I worked on it because it does not save that information on the website. That's really just not for me. If it is for you, that's excellent, and I think this pattern would be great for you. I just need written instructions that I can access sort of whenever. I would love to have printed written instructions. So this is just simply not the pattern designer for me. They are probably for a lot of people though. So again, everything worked out in the end. Waiting for some loud vehicles to pass. Waiting for another loud vehicle to pass. Every vehicle is loud, oh my god. So those are at least most of what I made this fall. At least between the what I made this summer video and now. Again, I'm sure I'm forgetting something. If I did, it was probably mentioned in another video. I definitely made more like full-size garments rather than accessories than I expected to. I really knit a whole outfit with sweater and pants. If you've seen my plans for winter knitting, you know I will be knitting another outfit in the form of a dress, so knitting full-on garments is not going to stop. However, I am going to stop talking. It's been great going over this and seeing like what all I have accomplished. I still consider myself somewhat of a beginner knitter. I'm still very much learning. I feel like this year my knitting improved drastically. And this fall in particular, I took on some things that I had not tried before, so very pleased. So I will leave you with that. Feel free to tell me about what you're working on in the comments. Go live your best yarny life, and I will see you next time. Bye.